property prices continuing to rise above inflation. It's making home ownership a little bit harder to access. So this Money on a Monday, we're talking about South Africans increasingly choosing longer repayment terms, but not just for bonds, but also for things like cars, even cell phone contracts, coming out with longer terms to manage affordability. A 30-year home loan is becoming more and more common because it's offering lower monthly repayments compared to the traditional 20-year bond. In the US, there's been a suggestion by Donald Trump on a 50-year bond. But who wants to be in their 80s or 90s even when you finally get to own your home? Cobus Du Preez runs a property education channel. He is also with Matterhor Properties, also joined by his colleague Gerrie Vorster, who is a bond originator from Cape Holdings Home Loans. Joined now by both of them. Cobus, good morning. Really appreciate your time. I signed up to a 20-year bond. I have been a bond repayer for the last 5 years or so. So I'll be in closer to my 60s before I get to legally own my home. But why are people choosing longer repayments when it comes to home loans? We also know that people are choosing to become homeowners much later in their lives.
It's good to hear that you are already in the mix and enjoying your house. Look, the premise of the video for a longer sort of mortgage term is to put people in a mindset. It's not for the homeowner, in my personal experience. It's more getting people from home ownership to investment sort of thinking. So changing that mindset. Investors want to see, I want to pay as little as possible and gain as much as possible. So we talk about return on equity. So you want to get to a cash flow positive position much quicker, which means if you pay less than the guy that bought next door to you with a 20-year bond, you have a 30-year bond that's a bit longer. That means your tenant is paying off all or more than and the majority of that repayment to the bank, which means you are cash flow positive much quicker. That means you also over time get a better return on equity because your physical cash out of pocket was less than your neighbor, for example.
Your argument is all about cash flow in a longer term bond repayment, but there's also the sentimentality of many people, in many South Africans, including me. I don't really care if I'm going to be struggling month to month. All I know is in the next 15 years, this home, which I'm currently repaying a bank, is going to be mine. There's a different mentality that we're talking here. What you maybe are educating on, and what a South African like me is, get it done so that in the quickest period of time, so that I can actually own this thing.
Yeah, 100%. Home ownership has never been frowned upon. The quicker you have an asset that you don't own any money on, I think that's the ultimate leverage. And I think anybody who isn't in the market yet because of an affordability issue, an extra 1,500, 1,000, maybe 1,000 to 1,500, 2,000 rand extra is just too much. And if it's too much, opt in for a longer term on the bond so that you can get in the mix instead of just sitting on the sideline and paying Lester's bond for him.
Gerrie Vorster is a bond originator with Cape Holdings Home Loans. Good morning, Gerrie. How much more interest on average would a buyer pay over 30 years compared to 20 years? But how should you rather balance this or weigh in this trade-off?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, so the calculation is quite frightening. Because if you're only adding another 10 years to your bond and extending it from 20 to 30 years, you're almost doubling the interest over the entire period. And people are really afraid to say, my goodness, I'm already paying so much more for this property by the interest I'm paying, and I'm going to add another 10 years and double that interest. But there are ways of leveraging that as well. And the two things that I always say to buyers is, number one, if you go and look at the average stats on the lifespan of a home loan, it's about 7 to 10 years. Most South Africans sell within 7 to 10 years, buy something bigger, scaling down, or whatever the reason is, they've been transferred to another province. So you're not going to be paying it for 20 years. You're probably going to pay for about 7 to 10 years, move on and buy another. Yes, you'll be bound to a home loan probably for the rest of your life. But the benefit of taking a 30-year home loan is that you can manage the repayments to expedite the repayments. So your normal installment will go off with a debit order, but you know that because of your financial position improving, you've taken the new job, you have an extra R1,000 a month. Now you institute a second debit order on your home loan for that R1,000. Doing that allows you to repay the bond much, much faster than the 30-year term that you initially signed up for.
Yeah. So just because you have a 30-year term does not mean, of course, you should maybe not be paying more. But here's another question we often are tasked with. If I'm reaching the end of my bond, do I close my bond, or do I still use my bond as some sort of facility? What are the pros and cons of keeping a bond account open, Gerrie?
So keeping a bond account open is always a good idea if you think in terms of emergencies. So let's say you have an accident and there's a major access and the major issues, and you now need an extra 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 Rand that's not lying around. Of course, you can access that through your access facility on your home loan, take care of the emergency, and over time repay that back. Some people decide they're going on an overseas holidays, and that's going to cost them 50 or 100,000 Rand. They take it out of the access and they repay it over the next year or two when they're still busy working or have the ability to do that. So when you're finishing with your home loan, by all means, keep it open. Just remember that as long as it's open, if there is a balance, it will attract interest. So make sure that the balance is zero. Otherwise, you'll be charged interest.
Cobus, your general thoughts on when Donald Trump, who said he wants to make homes more affordable for younger Americans, he suggested, why not a 50-year-old bond? If we know that younger people are buying, taking out bonds later in life, in the mid-30s, some even 40s, who wants to be indebted literally till the end of your life when you reach 50? When you reach 90.
When you reach 90, you can't be asked to pay a bank any sort of money. You know what I mean? So I just think the younger you are, the less better your decisions are. So maybe 50 years gives you time to maybe make better decisions and earn more money to actually pay back the things that you didn't pay. So there's positivity there. But 50 years, does that cause an affordability crisis further on, which America's in already? Do they want to open up more debt to a younger generation because the maybe older generation doesn't want to take on more debt because they know what happens? It's a strange request and strange suggestion.
50 maybe a little bit too much, but you're suggesting maybe take advantage, if it is on offer from your bank, a 30-year mortgage deal. I'd like to know from our listeners, is this something that you have looked into? Cobus Du Preez, Gerrie Vorster, really appreciate your time here on Money on a Monday.